feel safe. Choose who can participate, set delay. Okay, mate. Okay. Yes. We're live, finally. I'm stepping out of my comfort zone again. That's a new experience for me. Damn. New background as well. That feels good. Does it? We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. But at least it saves me all the hassle of having to film and then upload the video. It takes hours. But now, yeah, now we can just go. And yeah, this is all. I just don't know how the settings work yet. Okay. New, okay. All right. We can go. Welcome to live chat, remember. Okay, that's fine. Always working. I'm happy to be here on this Sunday afternoon. I'm gonna give it another 30 seconds to settle. So then I can actually start talk about everything that I wanted to talk about. We're gonna start. I have a bit of a problem from yesterday, which I'm gonna discuss because I don't care. Like eventually, yeah. Is it the thing to say? Maybe not, but I have to say it because it's something. And 10 seconds. That feels so much. You know the difference between going live and actually filming and then uploading. This is a bit more stressful. Not that I feel stress. Machines don't feel stress, but you don't have as much control. What if my Wi-Fi goes? What if I mess up the intro, which I already didn't. I didn't. But let's get into it. I can't. This is gonna stay on YouTube, so it's just a standard Ask Me Anything episode 36. But I have to say what happened yesterday. I had my session. Obviously it's Easter here and all that stuff. So we didn't really have the numbers. So I'm talking about my football session. We didn't have the numbers, the usual numbers. So we decided to join in my boys and the younger group. My boys are like 17, the younger group is like 15. Okay. So we joined in. Oh, let's play a game together. But then I started noticing, obviously my boys, my team always has a perfect attitude. But these younger guys, the 15-year-olds, they're given a bit of attitude. They were being, some of them, extremely disrespectful. And I started thinking, listen, when I was young, there was none of that. If you were disrespectful towards someone older than you, the normal thing is you get beat up. And that's how it's supposed to be. My goalkeeper had the ball and he passed it to one of the centre backs who turned out to be one of the under 15s. And the pass wasn't the best. And that guy, the boy, he doesn't understand his place in the social hierarchy. He's 15. You can't talk. You can't criticize the 17-year-olds. He doesn't understand that these boys nowadays, they don't get it. He goes, what are you doing? Think, use your head. What? Use your head. Think. He's saying this to someone 2 years older than him. He does, and his coaches said nothing. That's what's even more shocking. You don't want to say anything. This is what we've become. We've become too soft. And my keeper didn't even say anything back. And then I had to tell him after the session, I'm like, listen, you cannot allow people younger than you to disrespect you. It doesn't work like that. If you go back all the way to, I'm gonna Am I going to dive into philosophy that early? Maybe not, but you go all the way back to ancient China, Confucius. One of his main things, one of the pillars of his whole philosophy was what? Was filial piety. So respect towards your elders, towards your family, towards your parents, the elders. You have to have respect. Nowadays, it's gone. You have so many disrespectful children. They don't, but because everyone's been so soft towards them, they don't understand what's happening. What do you mean you're talking back to someone 2 years older than you? What if he decides to come and give you a slap? What are you going to do then? What? Are you going to go start complaining? Like a little bitch? Am I allowed to say that? I don't know, hopefully. It's just problematic. Then that same person decides to no longer play centre back. He goes up the pitch. And I'm like, yo, what position do you play? Because he was on the right wing. I'm a centre back. What are you doing here? Oh, we are just going all out attack. Whoa, hold on. Who told you to do that? So I changed the formation. I'm like, you know what? Stay there. Oh, go on. 2 minutes later, I have a goal kick. That supposedly centre mid now. He's not in the middle anymore. I'm like, hey, hold the ball there. And I look, obviously the goal kick is there, and I keep scanning the pitch and I cannot see it. I can't see him, and I'm looking, he's over on the right wing. He stepped outside the pitch and he's having a chat. And I'm like, are you playing or not? Well, yeah, I'm like, why are you off the pitch? If you're going to play, get on the pitch. Or just stay out and I'm going to get someone else in. I'm just having a chat. But what is this? This even sounds crazy for me to say. That's a bit embarrassing. Luckily, that is not one of my players. A player like that can never, ever thrive or even exist in my team. Just doesn't. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. But I decided to be nice because he had two of his coaches there. So what are they doing? They're being silent. That's their problem to deal with. But that level of disrespect is so common now. It's problematic. Hopefully one day I don't really get into too much trouble when dealing with disrespectful players, because it is in my DNA to go and tell people, to put them in their place when I see they've stepped out of bounds. And I was even excited. I was like, "Oh, that's a bit of trouble there. We've got a troublemaker." But I decided to be nice. Maybe because I've gotten older. If I was 23, 24, maybe I would have said something more. But fortunately, and to a certain extent, unfortunately, I don't have any players like that. No one really does that in my sessions because they know how to act. You need to behave. You need to have a certain standard. You need to meet a certain standard of behavior to be part of my team. If you cannot meet that, then you're not gonna enjoy your time, and eventually it's just not gonna work for you. But it is what it is. It is what it is. We can move on now. And the topic of today's episode, unless I get any questions, which is likelihood of this happening, not the highest. But the topic of today's podcast is actually balance. balance. We're gonna go into a bit of detail because I've got a problem with this. When people talk about balance, I immediately switch off, because if I don't, then we're gonna get into an argument, and I don't really want to go around getting into arguments, because even it looks a bit. What is this? The guy talking about? He's a bit weird. What is he saying? Because it's not the widely accepted opinion. So balance, it's common knowledge nowadays. Everyone is like, balance. You need to have balance in life. Just see that. What am I doing with this? All messages are visible. Okay. Let me just see the settings a bit for a second. Okay, we're fine. Widely accepted. Everyone is looking for balance. Oh yeah, balance. In everything you need to have balance. But we've talked about this before, but we haven't really gone into detail. Where did that come from? Where did that whole philosophy come from? Balance in life. The most important thing is balance. You have to have balance. That narrative, where does it originate from? And if you go all the way back, it's not from one place. If you go all the way back to like 500-600 years BC, and you go in China, you're gonna find Lao Tzu, one of the most famous Chinese philosophers, probably the second most famous, because Confucius had a bigger impact overall even in pop culture, you could say. But Lao Tzu was the teacher of Confucius. He's one of my favorite philosophers. He only ever wrote one little book. And he only wrote it because he wanted to, almost as a gift to, I think, to a guy that someone like a security or whatever. I think the guy was working on the borders and he didn't want to let him leave. And he promised that listen, I'm gonna let me go and I'll write something for you, pretty much. My knowledge. I'll put it into a book, give it to you, or whatever. And then obviously it's difficult to know what happened exactly with Lao Tzu. It's not even a fact that he existed. He probably existed. So it's a bit difficult. It's almost like a mythological figure. But yeah, he wrote that book, the second most translated book of all time, behind the Bible. So imagine that book here is pretty significant, given how small it is. So even you go back to his time, he talked about balance. And then obviously you have from China the concept of yin and yang, good and bad, feminine and masculine. All the way from back then, you have this concept of finding the balance between things, the good and bad, feminine, masculine, light, dark, good and evil. But by balance, they meant finding balance between extremes. Yin and yang is black and white. It's not, you mix them and you get gray. No, it's black and it's white. So you have both. You have both extremes. And it's using these two extremes, being able, understanding them, being able to utilize them in a good way. This is what was meant by balance. Compare this to nowadays. Nowadays, balance is more like I do a bit of this, I do a bit of that, I do a bit of this, a bit of that, a bit of that, a bit of that. It's more like mediocrity. Extremes are not even mentioned. They're like, oh, extremes, that's extreme. So you don't go there. You only do a little bit. Okay? So you only basically do nothing. So you start getting confused. And then because people saw, oh, that's actually useful. Some smart people saw the usefulness of this. Keep talking to people about balance. But let's use that, doing a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this. So people end up in this so-called comfort zone, which is that middle of basically doing nothing. I have what I need, I don't need this, I don't need that. You basically end up not doing anything. That's how it's spun nowadays. And it was seen as useful. Because if you believe that you're doing the right thing, when in reality you're not really doing anything, to be honest. You're just kind of living your own mediocre life. Because you're not raised and you haven't really been taught how to think or to strive for something more, to be better, to be excellent. You're not chasing excellence. You're just chasing, that's okay, that's okay, that's okay. And that's useful because if you have people like that, then it's really easy to guide them in certain directions because they wouldn't say no. Because no sounds a bit too extreme. I'll say maybe. To everything, I'll say maybe. Because I can't really have extremes. I need to have balance. I can say no to something, but if they push me, I can't really stand my ground. I'm gonna fold, because that's a bit much. Yeah, that's a bit too much. But then we go back again. We came back to the present, and now we're jumping back to the past. We talked about China. I don't even think probably yin and yang that precedes Lao Tzu as well. I'm not gonna go into Lao Tzu's actual teachings. I'm just gonna mention him because they're so vague and open to interpretation that we're just gonna end up having such a dead conversation, almost a monologue. My pace is gonna drop so much that it's gonna be difficult to get through. It's too, you see the Buddha there. It's too zen to talk about. And also things like that. I don't think after reading, because I've read Confucius, I've read Lao Tzu, I've read quite a few Zen texts. I don't think this is really something to talk about. This is more so for you to read and to interpret and to take in by yourself. That's more so of an individual journey towards enlightenment, if you want to call it this. It's about finding the way. But what exactly is the way? It's something that cannot be put into words. That's what Lao Tzu would say. It's he even said, act without acting. almost. It's very contradicting. But yeah, I don't want to go into it because I just get, I sink into my own thoughts. But we go back now to something that is actually a bit more practical, which is we go back, we follow the history of balance, and we go back, and we of course we have to go back to Greece, ancient Greece, the great Aristotle. He was probably the main person that popularized that philosophy of balance, finding the golden mean. He has a book. I've talked about this book. It's in my top 20 books, actually. The Nicomachean Ethics. It's an amazing book, one of the best ever. It influenced everyone and everything. You can see it in everything nowadays. Even nowadays, with all that twisted understanding of philosophy and of principles and whatever else of life, even still, you can still see it. Once you've read it, you'll be like, oh my god, that's actually, this is insane. How much something that a guy, some old guy, wrote about 200 and 300, 2,300 years ago in Greece. That guy wrote something 2,300 years ago, and it's still, it's like, Jesus Christ, you might as well could have wrote that like yesterday. That's how good it is. This is how you know we're talking about some of the greatest people to ever exist, and they're not talked about enough. I go out right now. I can guarantee. I walk out that room. I go on the street and start meeting people and ask, "Who is Aristotle?" They wouldn't know. How many people do you reckon know who Aristotle is out of 100? 20? I'm hoping 20. And yet, he has influenced life by his works so much, more than you can believe. It's crazy. It's inspiring. So, he talked about the median, the golden, not median, mean, the golden mean. He was like, okay, the good life and the good person knows, by balance, he meant, I'll give you an example. If you are too shy, too indecisive, then when it's time to do something, you're too shy, you're too indecisive, you're not gonna do it. You're like, do I? If you're too rush, you're like on edge too much, then even when it's not the time to do something, you're gonna do something and you're gonna mess things up. So you're either gonna do too much, cause trouble by doing too much, or you're not gonna do anything because you're scared, you're shy, or whatever you want to call it. So he said the balance between this is courage. We call it courage. Courage is doing the right thing at the right time, regardless of what it cost you, basically. You were scared, but you still did it, but it was time to do it. Okay? If it wasn't the time to do it, then you didn't do it. Okay? So you're smart. Because if you push courage to the extreme, then it becomes rashness and whatever I said. You're too on edge. You're too tense. You're not courageous. You're just stupid, basically. Because you're just going head in, just without thinking, just let's go. Instead, courage. And that's how he formed some of the main virtues that a person can have. What are they? I need to check them. I didn't really do my research that much because I don't want to be sat here reading script. You can read the book if you're interested. But yeah, so courage. That's the mean. That's between this and this. The right thing is this: is picking your spots. But it's not the middle. It's knowing when to do what. It's different. Knowing when to do what, knowing when to be this and when to be this. This is balance. Balance is not just being here and not doing anything and just staying here. That's not balance. This is just being mediocre, average, and very forgettable, and being a person of nothing. And this is what people somehow have taken away from all that philosophy nowadays. People are like, it's good to work, but you can only work that much. I need to have time to rest. Well, is that balance? Yeah, I balance my work with the rest. Okay, but maybe now is the time to really push. Balance is knowing when to rest and when to work extremely hard. Not to go, now is the time to work extremely hard, but you go, oh, that's unhealthy, that's too much. Now is the time to do it. A balanced person, truly balanced, can recognize that. And he can go, okay, I act now in this manner. This is balance. It's knowing when it's time to push to the extreme and when it's not the time to do it. That's what he meant. Balance, as Chelsea's called, balance as something as a tool for achieving excellence. That's what Aristotle was about. He was about excellence. You have to strive for excellence. And you're only going to get there with balance. Because if you're too much, you're going to fail. You're going to do damage. If you're too soft, you're not going to do anything. And apply that to everything, to all principles. Give me another principle. Let's say loyalty. Okay? I'm not sure if Aristotle talked about loyalty, but anyway, let's look at loyalty that way. I can do it, I'm pretty sure. If you're a loyal person, has the ability to see the situation and to decide, is it the right time to really stand behind this person? Or is it not? Is he actually doing the right thing? Is my loyalty well placed? Or is it too much now and I need to, instead of supporting, I need to go and tell him, listen, you've gone off the rails. You need to fix yourself. You're doing something that is bad. I can't stand for this. So this is loyalty. That's finding the balance. If you're too loyal, you're going to support someone doing something really bad. And that now kind of loses it. That's no longer good. That's what Aristotle meant, at least. I'm only guys saying what he wanted to, what he came up with. And if you're not loyal enough, then that's still not good. You're like, nah, I'm not gonna stand behind him. I need to sacrifice too much of myself. That's not loyal. And then we've decided loyalty is a good thing for society. So finding the balance between not loyal at all. It's time not to be loyal. He's doing something bad. I can't stand behind this. He's not listening to me. I'm off. And yeah, I support this person. Let's go. Let's do it. Whatever. If it costs me everything, it costs me everything. But I'll do it. Yeah, because you're doing the right thing. This is like the example of this is Leonidas. Is he King Leonidas? Of course. When I start talking about Leonidas, of course, I start getting goosebumps. Is he loyal to Sparta? Does he love Sparta more than anything else? Yes. Was he forbidden? Right. He was not allowed to go to war because it was Sparta's carnival. Sorry. The Carnia, or whatever it was called. During that time of the year, you are not allowed to go and fight. Okay? It's time for celebration. It's not the time for war. But he was like, I'm not allowed to do that. But he's still loyal to his country. But it's like, but I have to do it. I have to do it. So he sees that him not doing it, him not going to face the Persians would be wrong. The thing to do is to go and stand up for yourself. Stand up for the state. But the state tells him, no, you can't do that. You're not allowed by law. And he goes, I have to do it. And he goes, gets his 300 and does it. Is that loyal to the laws, to the state? Technically, no. But is he doing the right thing? Yes. So he knew all about loyalty. He knew all about balance. And he went and he paid. He paid for it. He sacrificed everything. He knew he's going to go and give his life. And he goes and gives his life, even though he knows full well that he's going against the law. So think about this. Leonidas, what a great person. What a great man. And then that was it. That was it. Sparta lost the great king Leonidas. But he knew what he was doing. He had this priority straight. And he went and he gave his life for what he believed in. Is this extreme now? People would say this is extreme. That's too much. Why did he do that? Well, I think this is balanced. He knew what he was doing. He judged the situation and he said, I'm this type of person. Okay. I'm the leader. I'm the king. It's my duty to do this. And as a good person, a virtuous person is gonna carry out what is necessary of him. He's gonna do what he's supposed to do. That's what a good person does. That's what a leader does. Did he know that he's gonna die? Yeah, he did. He did. He knew how many persons there are there. Thousands and thousands. He's going with like 300 Spartans, a couple hundred Thespians, and a couple hundred Arcadians. Nothing, basically, against thousands and thousands. He knows. That's it for them. And he picked every single one of the Spartans was picked based on, do they already have a son to continue the bloodline? Why would you do that if you think that that you're coming back? No, that everyone had already had a son, every single one of the 300, so they can go and give their life knowing that someone is going to continue their great bloodline. That's Such a good story. Never a better one. And then nowadays, we get the misinterpretation of balance, which is like just comfort. Everything has to be comfortable. If it's not comfortable, it's too extreme. We started confusing balance with comfort. What? How did that happen? We literally, most people can use that interchangeably. Yes, that's Sharon. That's my boy Sharon. Yes, Sharon. I'm doing not calls, but I'm going to be doing this from now on. Yeah. Yeah, that's a better way of doing it. Because if anyone has the time and has questions, it's going to be a lot more dynamic. If whenever I'm talking about something, you can ask questions if I wasn't clear about anything, and I can clarify. If you have any questions that come to mind while I'm talking, you can ask. So it's just much better instead of let's see what questions I have for today, and I start answering them, and yeah, just better. No worries, mate. Good. Yeah, I appreciate the support. You do. I keep praising you in front of everyone else. You know, you're a good example, Sharon. That's good, man. But the let's go back to the topic. The misinterpretation. We start using comfort and balance interchangeably, which is incorrect. It's incorrect. Go open the dictionary. Comfort. Now everything's about comfort. Or if I do too much of this, then I'm not going to be, I don't like it. Comfort. We confuse it. Balance. This is now going to summarize the last 30 minutes. Balance is about excellence. Balance is a tool to achieve excellence, both personal, as you know, in terms of like character, personality, but also in whatever you do. In whatever you do, you're looking to achieve excellence. This was the whole basis of this philosophical thought, of that concept, was reaching and achieving excellence. It wasn't comfort. No one was talking about comfort 2,400 years ago. Comfort was like back then you had slaves and all that stuff. Comfort wasn't a thing. Nowadays it is. And we started masking it, and people are using it very intelligently by really guiding you. Find your comfort. All these slogans as well, the self-help books, they do, some of them are okay, but most of them, they just give you a bunch of self-help stuff that is not really, it's just like, it's like they give you a instant boost. You feel good. Oh, I've read a book, I've read a self-help book. Yeah, I feel good about myself. I'm gonna do this and this, and then you do nothing. But they made you feel good. So they're like, they're not even self-help. They might say the right thing, but they're not impactful at all. I've read everything now, basically. All the self-help books that exist and that are any good at all, I've kind of read them, and they repeat themselves so much. There's so few of them that actually stand out. And one of them is this one, David Goggins, because it's not really a self-help book. Not exactly. But self-help, that just keeps pushing you in that direction of just, I read a book, I'm doing something. You're not doing anything. This is comfortable. Everything that has comfort involved is pushing you towards mediocrity. Nothing ever achieved, like in terms of significance, was achieved through balance. All significant achievements were because there were some people that had high standards, and for these people, excellence meant something. and they accepted nothing else but excellence. That's why things were achieved. You think Tesla is where it is, or Apple, because they're very balanced? No, they work 16 hours a day. Where is the balance in that? It's excellence. When you work, you work. You don't go, I don't want to work too hard, I need to come back tomorrow. No, you go out and you work. Does that sound unhealthy? Maybe yes. Should I give examples with myself? I try not to do it, but maybe I should, I've been working pretty much consistently for 7 days a week, every week, for years now. It's literally for years. I don't get burnt out. I don't. I am always on the look for adding. I want to add more things. I want to be more busy. I feel like I'm not doing enough. People, you don't have balance. What do I care about? You don't. First of all, again, why I never listen is because people don't know what they're talking about. I would listen to someone if they've read Aristotle, and then they come and start talking to me about balance. All right? Okay, you've read Aristotle? Yeah? Nice. What do you have to say? Oh, you haven't read Aristotle, so you don't know what you're talking about when you talk about balance. What have you read? What is the counter argument? I never say that, by the way, because what's the reaction that I'm going to get? Let's think. Let's reason. What's the reaction? The reaction is a defensive one. The reaction is, I'm not book smart, but life has taught me. That's the go-to answer, defensive answer, from people that don't read, that don't want to be excellent. In one lifetime, now my counter argument to this, which is obviously mentally, I never say that stuff because I don't want to go into arguments. I just keep quiet. My counter argument is this: how many things can you experience and learn from in one lifetime? How many? Let's say you have a really long life, you live to 90. So you think in the 90 years on this earth, you're going to learn everything you have to learn just from your experience? Is that not a bit arrogant? Or is it short-sighted? You're not seeing. You think you can learn the lessons that a person can learn from reading 250 books, for example, or 100 books. You think you can learn all that from your life experiences. And if you remove the first 20 years of your life, because you're a child, you're growing up, you have some experiences, but you're still young. Through adult experiences, let's say that your parents would have or whatever, they've had 20 years of life experience? It's a bit questionable. So if you want to be excellent, that's what I like, that's what I'm after, you have to go out of your way to do it. You can't reach excellence if you just rely on things coming to you. Or what is life going to teach me today? I have to go out of my way to learn. Oh, but it's not the same reading about something and experiencing it. Yes, of course. But as I said, what do you think is better? To never ever learn about something and never experience it, or to at least you haven't experienced it exactly, but you've read about it. You're like, these are the lessons that these guys learned. Okay, how can I integrate that into my personal experience? Which one is better? That should be a counter argument. But at the end of the day, I never argue about stuff like that because it is considered impractical, weird, all that stuff. And I don't. Here now I can talk about this because you know why? Because if anyone wants to know, you have to come to my channel. I'm not like, I'm not shoving it in your face. I'm not really promoting this even. I'm not shoving it in people's faces. If, you know, slowly, little by little, if anyone is interested in stuff like that, in practical, it's very practical, they come to my channel, watch, ask questions, whatever. If not, I'm silent. I'm silent. I can't. Who can I talk about? Who can I talk about stuff like that to? That's that's kind of, you know, the curse of the knowledgeable person. The more you know, the more you know. I'm not complaining, by the way, but it's just a fact. The more you know, the less people you can talk to. That's the reality. The more knowledge I gain, there's going to be very few people. There's not very few, fewer and fewer people that have similar knowledge, that know what I know. So then it starts becoming more and more difficult for me to find someone to understand you, if you want to put it that way. Sounds a bit sad, but it's not, because you learn to look past that. Like, you're not, I just want to, you know, someone to understand the way I feel. Like, what is that? Come on. But yeah, and also just to go back to that book knowledge versus experience, which is, we got to that point with the arguments of balance. We started an imaginary argument with someone that comes to tell me what balance is and what balance is not, and that I live an unbalanced life. So we went down the rabbit hole of this imaginary debate. What was I gonna say? My thought escaped. It went somewhere else. What was I gonna say? Jesus Christ. Drinking water turned out to be very distracting. I lost my thought anyway. I'm gonna move on. Because I had a second idea while I was drinking water. Just think about, with this imaginary argument that I was having with someone that doesn't even exist, think about how much you can prepare for conversations and arguments just by doing this. You see, I'm in my own head. I'm imagining, I say this, then the other guy says that, then my response is this, then the other guy's response is that. You can prepare for quite a lot if you're willing to think. So think about us. We're talking about preparation here. Yeah, you can be very prepared for stuff, and you can be very prepared for conversations, for debates, and everything. Just think, okay, what's the next? What's the next? What's the next? And I am prepared. I was gonna say something about the book knowledge versus experience. Yeah. So think about when people criticize book knowledge, about you haven't experienced this and experienced that. Think in life, how many massive, like major experiences are there for you to learn from, if that's what you're learning from, and if you don't rely on books, well, that stuff impractical. Think how many you can, if you break it down into emotions. What is it? Extreme happiness, extreme sadness, depression, anger, guilt. What else? What else? Am I missing something? Not really. So all these emotions, the biggest difference is to what extent do you experience them? How happy can you actually get? And this is very subjective. How sad can you get? This is very subjective. How guilty can you feel? I'm very guilty. Do you guys know how guilty I feel at the moment? Got no idea. I just said very guilty. You're trying to judge it based on my expressions and actions, but you would never know. You might be a good actor. You know, I might just be a good actor because obviously, if you look at me, I look like Brad Pitt. So I might be a good actor. I might just be lying to you. But yeah, it's just subjective emotions. Now, these emotions, you apply them to different experiences. So let's say, I lost one of my parents. I lost someone I loved. That is gonna make you extremely sad, of course. Yeah, that's one thing to experience. I made a lot of money. Woohoo! That's another thing to experience. I have a family now, and I'm expecting a child. I'm a father now. Woohoo! Further, it's like what 6 or 7 major experiences. You're learning from them. Come on, major experiences. So once you have these, you kind of know how this feels, how that feels. By the way, by the time you're 25, you kind of know how most of this feels. So people saying, but you experience, how much is there to if you want real knowledge, you have to read. That's how you sharpen your knowledge. Experience. All the most experienced people, experienced, that don't have book knowledge, call what I do, that's too much. You know, you don't have balance in your life. Do I have any negatives from my imbalanced life? I'm still waiting to be burnt out. Oh my God, I've been doing too much. And as I said earlier, 5 years, for 5 years, I've been doing what I'm doing, more or less. Am I going back to Bulgaria for a bit every year? Yeah. Is there burnout? No. Because I'm smart. When I rest, I rest. In terms of, I'm going to bed. I sleep. That's it. I wake up in the morning, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And it's also burnout. It's a bit of it's a mental state. So if you take care of your mind, you're not really gonna get burnt out. Because think about it, even the people, I need to take time off. So balance, you need time off. All right. During that time off, what are you doing? Are you just laying in bed, not doing anything? Or is your brain working and your body is moving? Your brain is working, you're using it for something, your body is moving, you're using it for something. So you're expending energy. I've shifted my point of view to, like, I have energy anyway. I'm going to use it anyway. I might as well use it for something positive. And because this is my mindset, I'm like, I'm doing something positive with my energy. I'm not just wasting it like playing PlayStation. I might as well read a book instead of play PlayStation. I'm still going to be using this if I convince myself that I actually enjoy reading books. And I do now. Although I hated it with a passion when I was young. I just didn't know. No one really showed me the right books. But I've convinced myself. So when I do it, it doesn't really feel like, oh, man, that's tough, mate. There's never a moment in my week, there's never a moment where I'm like, oh, I need to read my book. Because I've shifted my mindset. My mindset is like, that's good. I mean, at least I'm using my time for something positive. My time off, I'm doing something positive with it. So I just look at it as a good thing. I don't look at it's a chore. Oh my god, I need to read my book. Oh my god, I need to work out or something like this, something along the lines. I'm like, yeah, I'm utilizing my time well. Good. That's what I'm supposed to be doing. That's it. It's different. It's just a little shift. That's why I'm not. People that call me imbalanced, they need so much. They need multiple. Or how was I going to phrase this? They need a lot more time off than me. Think about the average person. I will tell you now. I've done the maths, obviously. In a 365 days of the year, normally the tendency is for me to, in the last 5 years, is to take 20-ish days in the summer off to go back to Bulgaria. To be fair, that's becoming less and less. And about 2 weeks in the winter. So let's be generous, 35 days in the year I have off where I'm in Bulgaria. Although I found a way to use them. So when I'm in Bulgaria, I'm doing stuff. I was doing my house for the past couple of years. Every time I'm there, I'm doing something. So, all this, 35 days in a year. Think about the average person's here. Monday to Friday. You have 52 weeks in a year. 2 days off you have in every week. This is 104 days off just from Friday and Saturday without a holiday. 104 days off in a year. Is that not a lot? That's like having working back to back to back and then having 3.5 months off in the year just from Friday, Saturday and Sunday. Is this not enough? This is more than enough. If someone told me, hey, from tomorrow you're gonna have these 105 days off, you're gonna have them at once. I'm like, what? 3.5 months? I'm not doing it. Am I this tired? Oh, geez, my light went off. Let's restart it. Technical problems. Sorry, apologies. Yes. There you go. We're back in action. By the way, what time is it? Because I need to go and play football. I've got time. So yeah, just think about this. Do the maths. In a year, 52 weeks, 2 days off every week, 105 days you have off. And if you take your leave, from work or whatever it is, another 20 days, let's say, for example, you have 125 days off every year. You tell me you need that much? I disagree with this. I don't need that. I personally don't need that much. It's individual. I'm a high energy person. I think most of it is just people's mindset. You have a very weak mindset. You keep talking about needing time off. You keep talking about I don't this. You're just a negative person. Of course you need time off. I don't need time off because I'm not a negative person. I see everything as good. Let's go. Working 7 days a week. Let's go. That's exciting for me. That what that means. That means I'm a tough guy. I'm doing things that most people cannot do, and that makes me feel good. Whoa, I'm a very tough guy. I'm a hard worker. I walk with confidence because I know not many other people do that. So I've locked myself into this positive spiral, circle, whatever you want to call it. I'm in it. I can't get out of it. Some people lock themselves into the negative circle, if you could call it that. And they just decide to live there and they think it's normal. That's why you never have enough time off. You can never have enough time off. I can never go on enough holidays because because I'm just a negative person. I guarantee some people, they can have holidays for half the year. You do that 2 years, on the third year, like, oh, only 6 months off. Oh, that's not enough. But when you have no days off, every time I have a day off, I'm like, wow, that's crazy. That's insane. What do I do with myself? Yeah. So it's the mindset. And it's also, gee, one hour in. I think I enjoyed this more than the normal ones because it's a bit more like it's live. It's live. You don't know what's gonna happen. It feels a bit more real because otherwise I'm talking into the void. Can you imagine how weird this is? But it's good. Even with this, with the podcast, if you think about it, I could go and talk about anything, anything in the world. Whatever I want to talk about, I can talk about. I've decided to put a positive spin on everything. Everything I say has some sort of a positive spin on it. Even when I'm not complaining, but when I'm ranting about something, the way I start about these fucking little morons being disrespectful towards all the people, even this, like, I see this as me having fun. I'm not really complaining. It's like, what am I going to complain about? If it was up to me, I'm going to go and fix it. But there were other coaches. We put a positive spin on everything. I found balance. You know, you can always find balance in anything. As long as you do things properly. But you have to do things properly. For me to find balance, that's going to be one of the final things I'm going to say. I'm so preoccupied doing so many things. Even if you think about it, I'm doing this podcast now. Oh, it doesn't take that much yet, but it's like, let's say 2 hours every week. If you have no days off and if your week is full, I need to train. I need to do that podcast. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. About a million things. I need to read my books, of course. A million things. So, what was I gonna say? I've had a moment again. Oh yeah, even with this. No, I forgot what I was gonna say. These little distractions kill me. My phone said. Oh yeah, I remember now. I'm so zen. You have to do things properly. Don't get caught into the trap of ticking things. I've done this, I've done that, and doing things just for the sake of ticking it. Just doing the bare minimum. Just doing it for the sake of saying it's done. For me not to burn out with doing all that, a million and one things. For me not to burn out, I need to make sure that if I say I'm not doing anything tonight, for example, or I'm going to bed, I need to do it properly. Not just say I've had 6 hours in bed. Make sure that it's done properly. Make sure when you say, oh, I'm gonna have 1 hour. Have the 1 hour. Don't go, oh, I have 1 hour, but I need to think about this and this. No. If you have 1 hour, have 1 hour. Like off. Take recharge, do whatever you need to do and do it. When you do things, do them properly. I'm not just gonna. It used to happen to me before with reading all the books that I was reading. I had a couple of times because I've always been. I wanted to. Okay, how many books am I gonna read this year? Okay, I need to get to 52. So I'm thinking about the number with every book. I'm checking my progress. How many books now? How many books now? I was like, listen. If I start doing this, then I'm gonna be just like everyone else, just a Mickey Mouse superficial person. Just reading books for the sake of saying I've read 52 books. Is this what I'm about? Am I this superficial thing? And I said, no, I'm not doing stuff like that anymore. Not anymore. I've never really done it. I can only say a couple of books that I've just gone through and I'm like, that's out the way now. Because I'm ashamed of myself if I do it. Then I know I'm not a real person. I'm just a pretender. I'm a wannabe. I'm like a guy that just says he's read 1,000 books, but he knows nothing. He's just done it for the numbers. No, there has to be something behind it, substance. So I've had a couple of times, I've read a book and I'm like, okay, what did I remember? What do I remember? What is my main takeaway from this book? And I'm like, I don't know. A couple of them were very complex, like very, very complex. And the first time I said, I realized that I was like, I had a really hard conversation with myself. I said, is this what you're becoming now? Just doing stuff for the sake of numbers? I'm like, no. And I said, well, if the answer is no, then what is the next logical thing to do? And that other inner voice said, start over, read the book again. And I read it again. You know what was funny? I asked myself the same question. You know what the answer was? What did you learn from the book? What is your takeaway? And I was like, I don't know. So I read it third time and then a fourth time. And on the fourth time, I actually kind of understood what I was reading. Obviously, the book was so difficult, but I had to check myself. I had to make sure, listen, I could have read 4 books by now, but I keep reading one over and over. If you're wondering about what book it was, it's called, I've talked about it before, Arthur Schopenhauer. The book's title is On the Fourfold Root of the Principle of Sufficient Reason. Why am I reading this? But anyway, I like to think I'm smart, or I'm so intelligent. I'm reading the most difficult philosophical books. Oh yeah, that's why I read it 4 times. And then I stopped there. I have Schopenhauer's other 2 books, but when I started reading them, the first one said, if you're reading this book, then you're expected to have read and understood on the fourfold root of the principle of sufficient reason and Immanuel Kant's critique of pure reason. And I still haven't gotten to that. That's 3 years later, because I started Immanuel Kant's book, but I keep checking out mentally. So I'm like, the time will come, I'll read it, and then I'll read these books. But it's not there. That's when I was like, I cannot be like that. I cannot be a pretender, doing things just for the sake of saying I've done them. That's how a lot of people are. And this is linked to finding and having balance. That notion of, when I'm doing something, I'm doing it properly. People have days off, but it's not really a day off. They're doing something just useless. There is no substance. People are doing things with no substance way too much. And that's why they feel burnt out. That's why they need back to the comfort zone. I'm good here. When I do something, I do it. That's it. That's my closing statement. 70 minutes. Jeez, that's a long podcast. It's not that long, but it's good enough. Yeah, anyway, that's it. I'm gonna go now. I've had enough. I've had fun this time. This was refreshing. It's good. We're stepping out of my comfort zone. And I'm enjoying this, with podcaster. Too many things, am I? Anyway, thanks for watching, listening, and whatever else. And how do I stop this now? That's the question. And I'll be back next time. So, okay, let's see. How do I stop it? You want to stop streaming? Yes, end.